And y'all already have seen in previous videos, I don't necessarily agree with all things Philip Mitchell either. But in this case, I'm like, I gotta side with the brother because Christmas is not pagan. All right, Merry Christmas, everybody. As of this recording, it is officially Christmas Day, 12/25/2024. And in this video, I'm going to give 5 reasons why I no longer believe that Christmas is pagan. Because believe it or not, I used to be in the Christmas is pagan crowd. And I felt inspired to do this video for a couple reasons. For one, I did a video about this, or a short on YouTube about this, maybe last year or the year before, and it's currently going semi-viral again, which is to be expected because it is the Christmas season, and this is when all the Christmas is pagan memes and chatter goes on. So a lot of people are watching that video and lighting me up in the comments. And matter of fact, let me read some of these comments because they are kind of like, they're getting a little bit crazy. Someone says, this is a very irresponsible video. You should delete it. The same people who say Christmas is not pagan tell you Jesus was white too. For the record, I've never said that Jesus was white. But anyway. All right, this person says, so many good comments about your inaccuracies that I don't even need to. I think they were going to say I don't even need to comment. And then someone cites Jeremiah 10, insightful. And then someone else says she has a very shallow understanding. So yeah, the comments are part of the reason why I'm doing this video. Another is because Pastor Philip Mitchell actually commented on why he's okay with celebrating Christmas on Sunday.
Do we celebrate Christmas or not celebrate Christmas? Watch, non-essential. If you're in the non-celebrate camp because you think it's pagan, then you don't celebrate. But please don't slander, which is a sin, the brothers and sisters who choose to celebrate.
And a lot of people on the internet are just, just not being very charitable to him. And y'all already have seen in previous videos, I don't necessarily agree with all things Philip Mitchell either. But in this case, I'm like, I gotta side with the brother because Christmas is not pagan, y'all. And we should not be spreading false information. But before we get into the 5 reasons why I don't think Christmas is pagan, I just kind of wanted to share with y'all how I was converted briefly into that camp for a couple years and terrorized some very, very special people to me. And I apologize to y'all for all of my Christmas is pagan rhetoric. But anyway, so a few years ago, I was going to this house church, and the pastor and his wife, they're great people. I love them to life. But they were the ones who had convinced me that Christmas was pagan. And it all started at a Bible study where the pastor showed a clip from the History Channel, and it was talking about how Christmas was tied to all these, pagan festivals or whatnot. And I immediately got defensive because I'm like, I love Christmas and how dare you? But having a pastor teach that to me and then, giving some type of proof from history and then reading text from the Bible, I'm like, well, I mean, if the Bible says that Christmas is pagan, then I guess it's my duty as a Christian to stop celebrating it. And I even remember one Sunday, and if you're watching this, I'm so sorry, but this is where I'm at now, and I'm just telling my story. One Sunday, this pastor, he preached in a Santa hat, and he basically told us that if you celebrate Christmas, that God might wipe your name out of the Lamb's Book of Life. And I just thought, now that don't sound right. But I still was on the Christmas is pagan kick. So I was basically like, getting on my whole family about it. Like, we're Christians. We should not be celebrating this. This is wrong. Blase, blase. And, even some of my friends were just like, girl, you sound crazy, but whatever. So I was on that for a while. And then I started getting into Christian apologetics because I had actually a friend of mine from that same church became a Hebrew Israelite, which caused me to kind of have to do some self-reflection on my faith because he was asking me questions I didn't have the answer to. And I was just like, I don't know. So then I started reading apologetics books and books on theology and all this. And then I ran across a video by Inspiring Philosophy. And he just broke down how a lot of these Christmas is pagan myths they're just not true. They're just not true. And when I tell you, the load that was taken off of me that day, I'm so forever grateful for those Inspiring Philosophy videos. So I will link those in the description just in case y'all haven't seen them. But since then, so many different Christian apologists have done videos addressing this very issue because it can be crippling. Some people, it's not that big of a deal, but there are a lot of folks who go extremely legalistic around this time of year. And they beat up on Christians for celebrating a holiday that we do have the freedom, the religious freedom, the Christian freedom to practice. So anyway, with all that being said, I just wanted to go through these 5 things that I think illustrate that Christmas is not pagan. So the first one is Jeremiah 10 is not about a Christmas tree. Now, my pastor had taught me that it was about a Christmas tree and all this and that, but it's really not. And this is something that IP kind of highlighted in his videos about Christmas traditions. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring up Jeremiah 10 because this is everybody's favorite proof text when they want to show that Christians should not be celebrating Christmas. Okay, Jeremiah 10. Okay. Hear the word that the Lord has spoken to you, house of Israel. This is what the Lord says. Do not learn the way of the nations. I think in some translations it says heathens, for all my KJV folks. Do not learn the way of the heathens or be terrified by signs in the heavens, although the nations are terrified by them. For the customs of the peoples are worthless. Someone cuts down a tree from the forest. It is worked by the hands of a craftsman with a chisel. He decorates it with silver and gold. It is fastened with hammer and nails so it won't totter. Like sparrows in a cucumber patch, their idols cannot speak. They must be carried because they cannot walk. Do not fear them, for they can do no harm, and they cannot do any good. So the first part of that passage does sound like it could be talking about a Christmas tree as we know it today. But if you keep reading, it becomes very evident that Jeremiah is basically saying, listen, they take these trees, they chop them down, and they carve them into idols. So it's not like they're decorating the tree as is, like what we do with Christmas trees. They're cutting them down to form idols. And this is the problem, the idolatry. Decorating a tree in itself is not idolatry. But if you are purposely carving it into an idol to worship it, that is idolatry. So first thing, Christmas is not pagan based on Jeremiah 10 because Jeremiah 10 has nothing to do with a Christmas tree. All right, second thing. People bring up Saturnalia around this time of year, right? They say Christmas is just, basically a copycat of Saturnalia. And that's not quite true either. So I Googled, when was Saturnalia first celebrated? This is on the History Channel's website. Hey, bringing it full circle. Because the video that my pastor showed me was from the History Channel, right? So on the History Channel's website, it says the pagan celebration of Saturn, the Roman god of agriculture and time, began as a single day. But by the late Republic, 133 to 31 BC, so this is 100 or so years before Jesus was even born, it had expanded to a week-long festival beginning December 17th. So Saturnalia was celebrated on December 17th, and now it goes to December 23rd. But the 17th through the 23rd is not Christmas. So Christmas was not copied from Saturnalia. All right, the next one is Sol Invictus, because Sol Invictus actually is celebrated on December 25th. But here's the thing. Sol Invictus wasn't celebrated until after Christians had already been celebrating Christmas. And I have a Google search that I pulled up on that one too. This one comes from Wikipedia, and we all know Wikipedia is not always the best source. But I think you can Google this and find it on a peer-reviewed website as well. But it says, according to some scholars, the Emperor Aurelian instituted in AD 274 the festival Solus Invicti, or the birthday of the invincible sun, on the 25th of December. So Sol Invictus was started in AD 274. But here's the thing, though. The church father Hippolytus was writing about celebrating Christmas like well before Sol Invictus came around. So I found this article on the Biblical Archaeology Society's website. And it says this: when did December 25th become the date for Christmas? T.C. Schmidt argues for an early association of Jesus' birth with December 25th in his article Calculating Christmas, Hippolytus, and December 25th. So I'm going to skip down. It says, his article begins, many readers will be familiar with the common refrain that December 25th Christmas was originally a pagan holiday, perhaps corresponding to the Roman festival of Saturnalia, or the feast of the sun god Sol. I myself used to sing this kind of anti-carol, but then while translating a treatise of Hippolytus of Rome, I came across a passage stating that Jesus was born on December 25th. Now, Hippolytus was a Christian author who wrote in the early 3rd century AD, and Saturnalia and the Feast of Sol were not celebrated on December 25th that early in Roman history. Saturnalia never was, and the Feast of Sol only came to be later. So Hippolytus clearly could not have chosen the date to please pagan sentiments. Schmidt analyzes an inscribed statue of Hippolytus, a 3rd century Christian theologian. Inscriptions from 222 AD appear on the chair sides and back. One of the inscriptions includes a date for Jesus' conception on April 2nd, 2 BC. 9 months after this date would situate Jesus' birth in late December of 2 BC or early January of 1 BC. December 25th falls nicely within that range. Even today, there's a variety of dates for Christmas. So anyway, Hippolytus writes this inscription that can be dated back to early 3rd century, so 222 AD. That's still decades before Sol Invictus is being celebrated. So Christians did not copy Sol Invictus and try to put Christmas on it. Seems like it quite possibly was the other way around. All right, so that was number 3. Number 4, I already did this in a video that I released a week or so ago. People be saying that Christmas is Tammuz's birthday, but there's no passages in the Bible that say this at all. None of these things say anything about Tammuz being born on December 25th. And in the Old Testament, they were using the Hebrew calendar anyway. So Christmas was not on Tammuz's birthday, and there's no justification for that using the Bible. And if you want to see the video that I did on that, I'll leave it in the description. Number 5 is that Jesus may possibly actually have been born on December 25th. Now, this is just an estimate, and there's different ways that people conclude when Jesus was born. I'm not married to 1225 either way, but there's a reason that I think can be justified, or several reasons why church history continues the December 25th date. And I'm going to read this article from historian Bill Federer. And he's like, no, y'all, like we can actually use the Bible to justify a December 25th date. So I found this kind of interesting. All right, so in this article, and you can find it on amerisearch.net, it says to track down the traditional date of Christmas is first necessary to determine the date of the conception of John the Baptist. The Gospel of Luke, chapter 1, explained how John the Baptist's father, Zechariah, was a Levite priest of the family of Abijah. All right, so this is what it says. In the time of Herod, king of Judea, there was a priest named Zechariah who belonged to the priestly division of Abijah. His wife, Elizabeth, was also a descendant of Aaron. King David divided the Levite priests into 24 family groups called divisions or courses, which took turns ministering at the altar in Jerusalem for a week at a time, or twice a year. This rotating schedule, called a sacerdotal rota system, is recorded in 1 Chronicles 24, which says, the sons of Aaron served as the priests. David separated them into divisions for their appointed order of ministering. That was in 1 Chronicles 24. All right, the family course of Abijah served in the annual cycle on the 8th week and the 32nd week. Solomon initiated the courses when he dedicated the first temple, and that's 951 BC, as 2 Chronicles chapter 8 verses 12 through 14 records. Solomon, in keeping with the ordinance of his father David, he appointed the divisions of the priests for their duties. The Jewish calendar is based on lunar cycles, while the Roman calendar is based on solar cycles. When was Abijah's course in the Roman calendar? He says the Babylonian Talmud confirmed that the priestly family of Jehoiarib was on duty when the first temple was burned in 587 BC on the 9th day of the 5th Jewish month of Av, coinciding with the prophet Jeremiah's account, which is in Jeremiah 52, verses 12 to 13. Then he cites Joseph Heinrich Friedlib. So in this book by Joseph Heinrich Friedlib, which was written in 1887, The Life of Jesus the Redeemer, Friedlib says that when the second temple was burned, the priestly course of Jehoiarib was again on duty. All right, then it goes on to say, since it's known that the second temple was destroyed in early August 70 AD on the 9th day of Av, and that the first priestly course of Jehoiarib was on duty that week, then 7 weeks later would be the course of Abijah, which would be the second week of the Jewish month of Tishri. This week on the Roman calendar occurred the last week in September. This is the exact week in which took place the Day of Atonement, which is Yom Kippur, the 10th day of Tishri, and the Feast of Tabernacles, which is Sukkoth, the 15th day of Tishri. All right, we're going somewhere. We're about to land the plane. The Dead Sea Scrolls confirm the order of the Levite family courses, as revealed by Israeli scholar Talman in his research published in 1958 from the Qumran Dead Sea Scrolls. And he got this from parchment number 321, 4Q321. This is what we call receipts, okay? All this evidence seems to indicate that From 1 to 4 BC, at the end of the reign of King Herod in Judea, Zechariah, the father of John the Baptist, would assumably served in the temple the last week of September. His wife Elizabeth would have conceived soon after, being pregnant with John the Baptist. The Byzantine Rite Church calendar commemorates September 23rd as the date of the conception of John the Baptist, as does the 2nd century work Proto-Evangelium of St. James. Luke's gospel clearly states that Elizabeth was in her 6th month of pregnancy when she was visited by her younger cousin Mary. 6 months after the end of September is the end of March. So basically, from there, if John the Baptist actually was conceived on or around September 23rd, that means Jesus would have been conceived on or around March 25th, which means Jesus would have been born on or around December 25th. So is that rock hard evidence? No. But I think it gives a good paper trail as to the history of the December 25th date, even if that just doesn't happen to be Jesus's actual birthday. I didn't write this down as one of the 5 things, but another thing people will be saying is like, well, the sheeps couldn't have been grazing in Bethlehem around that time. It's too cold. But if you Google it, like, it's possible for sheep to graze in that part of the world in December because it doesn't get very cold. But anyway, I hope that this helps somebody. Now, I already know for some of y'all, none of this stuff is going to matter. You're still going to say that Christmas is pagan and you ain't celebrating it, and it's your prerogative. That's fine. But I think that we should be honest about this. And some of these sources that y'all are using or that people are using to make these claims are just completely bogus. And we should not continue to spread false information, especially not if we're Christians. You know, if Christmas is not pagan, then stop telling people that Christmas is pagan. Come on, y'all. Anyway, that's all I had to say about that. I hope that y'all enjoy your families today, whether you celebrate Christmas or not. I, for one, am so grateful for the incarnation. I'm grateful that God came into this world as a baby and that he lived a perfect life and died the death that I deserved, but I couldn't have paid for myself. He paid for it on the cross for me, and he redeemed us. So we are so grateful. Thank you, Jesus, for your birth, for your life, for your deity, for your death, and absolutely for your resurrection. So anyway, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and stick around. Subscribe to the channel if you like this information. And yeah, y'all have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.